Deep in the heart of Pennsylvania, nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering willows, lies the quaint town of Willow Creek. A place where time seems to move a little slower, where neighbors know each other by name and where secrets linger in the shadows. But beneath the idyllic facade, a darkness festers. A palpable unease hangs in the air, a chilling reminder of the town's unsettling history. For generations, the residents of Willow Creek have whispered tales of a haunted house perched on the edge of town. A place where tragedy and terror intertwine, leaving an indelible mark on the very soul of the house. A place known simply as the Empty House. The Empty House stands as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most peaceful places. Locals speak of the house in hushed tones, their voices laced with a mixture of fear and fascination. They avoid the road leading to the house, especially after dark, as if the very act of acknowledging its presence might invite unwanted attention. Children grow up hearing the stories, the chilling tales passed down through generations, each telling more terrifying than the last. Stories of unexplained noises, flickering lights, and shadowy figures lurking in the windows. Stories that send shivers down their spines and fuel their nightmares. The house itself is an imposing structure, a once grand Victorian mansion now fallen into disrepair. Its paint peels, its windows boarded shut, and its once manicured gardens overgrown and wild. Built in the late 19th century by the wealthy Caraway family, the house was once the epitome of elegance and sophistication. The Caraways were prominent members of Willow Creek society, their lives a whirlwind of lavish parties and social gatherings. But behind the facade of wealth and happiness, a darkness festered within the walls of the mansion, a darkness that would leave an enduring stain on the house and the town itself. The Caraway mansion was more than just a home. It was a silent witness to a series of tragic events that would forever shape its destiny. Unexplained deaths, strange occurrences, and whispers of madness plagued the family, their once bright lives slowly unraveling into a tapestry of despair. Each generation of the Caraway family fell victim to the house's sinister influence, their lives cut short by bizarre accidents or unexplained illnesses. Whispers of a curse spread through the town, each tragedy adding fuel to the fire of fear and speculation. And so, the Caraway mansion, once a symbol of prosperity and happiness, became a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can consume even the most unsuspecting souls. It became the Empty House, forever etched into the fabric of Willow Creek's history as a place of fear, mystery, and enduring sorrow. The history of the Caraway family was deeply intertwined with the very land upon which their grand mansion stood. Local legend held that the land was once a sacred burial ground for a Native American tribe, their final resting place desecrated by the Caraways' ambition to build their opulent estate. As the mansion rose, so too did whispers of a curse, a vengeful whisper carried on the wind. The patriarch of the Caraway family, a ruthlessly ambitious man named Edward Caraway, scoffed at such superstitious nonsense. He dismissed the stories as the ramblings of jealous townsfolk, envious of his family's newfound wealth and status. But Edward's arrogance would prove to be his undoing. Shortly after the mansion's completion, Edward's wife Eleanor fell gravely ill. Her once vibrant spirit dwindled with each passing day, her body racked with a mysterious ailment that baffled the town's most esteemed physicians. As Eleanor lay on her deathbed, her frail hand clutching Edward's, she whispered of shadowy figures and unseen forces that haunted the halls of their home. Edward, consumed by grief and denial, refused to believe his beloved Eleanor's dying words. He poured his energy into expanding his business ventures, seeking solace in material wealth and worldly pursuits. But the curse, it seemed, had already taken root, its tendrils slowly tightening around the Caraway family. Edward's son, William, a brooding and melancholic young man, became increasingly withdrawn. He spent hours shut away in his room, his easel a canvas for disturbing and grotesque images that hinted at a tormented mind on the brink of madness. Rumours spread that William had inherited his mother's sensitivity to the supernatural, his sanity slowly unravelling as he bore witness to the horrors that lurked within the mansion's walls. William's erratic behaviour became a source of both concern and embarrassment for Edward. Desperate to salvage his family's reputation, Edward summoned the town's most renowned physician, Dr. Henry Blackwood, to examine his son. Dr. Blackwood, a man of science and reason, initially dismissed the notion of a curse, attributing William's condition to a severe case of melancholia. Years turned into decades, and the Carraway family's once sterling reputation faded into obscurity. The grand parties ceased, replaced by an oppressive silence that hung heavy in the air. Edward, his hair now streaked with grey, watched as his family crumbled around him, his dreams of a lasting legacy turning to dust. Then tragedy struck again, this time claiming the life of Edward's only daughter, Margaret. A beautiful and vivacious young woman, Margaret had always possessed an air of defiance, a refusal to succumb to the darkness that had enveloped her family. But even her spirit, it seemed, was no match for the curse that haunted the Carraway name. Margaret's death was as sudden as it was unexplained. One moment she was alive, her laughter echoing through the mansion's cavernous halls. The next she was gone, her lifeless body discovered in the parlour, her eyes wide with terror. The town doctor, summoned in haste, could offer no explanation for her untimely demise, his medical expertise failing to unravel the sinister forces at play. Margaret's death shattered what little remained of the Carraway family's unity. Edward, his heart heavy with grief and guilt, retreated further into himself, his once imposing figure now stooped and broken. William, his grip on reality already tenuous, descended further into madness, his tortured cries echoing through the mansion's empty halls. The servants, their loyalty shaken by the escalating horrors, abandoned the mansion one by one, their hushed whispers of curses and hauntings spreading like wildfire through the town. The Carraway mansion, once a symbol of prosperity and ambition, now stood as a solitary monument to despair, its windows dark, its doors bolted shut against the encroaching darkness. And so, the legend of the Carraway curse took root, its tendrils reaching out from the shadows, forever entwined with the history of the mansion and the town it haunted. A tale whispered in hushed tones, a chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets better left buried. Years passed, and the Carraway mansion, now known only as the Empty House, stood as a menacing silhouette against the rural landscape. The locals steered clear, their fear a potent inheritance passed down through generations. But for outsiders, for those drawn to the allure of the unknown, the Empty House held an irresistible appeal. On a crisp October night in 1978, 4 teenagers, their youthful bravado fueled by campfire stories and cheap beer, set their sights on the Empty House. There was Sarah, the skeptic, Jared, the jokester, Lisa, the dreamer, and Mike, the daredevil. They saw it as a rite of passage, a chance to prove their courage and conquer their fears. The dare was simple: spend one night in the Empty House. Easy, they thought, a way to earn bragging rights and maybe a few scares along the way. Armed with nothing but a flashlight, a tape recorder to document their adventure, and a healthy dose of teenage arrogance, they crossed the threshold into the darkness. The air inside was thick with the smell of decay, the silence broken only by the creaking of the floorboards beneath their feet. The darkness seemed to press in, suffocating, heavy with the weight of unseen eyes. Sarah, her skepticism waning with each step, felt a shiver run down her spine. As they ventured deeper into the house, room by room, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. Jared's jokes grew nervous, his laughter strained. Lisa, her eyes wide with apprehension, clung to Mike's arm. Mike, however, remained outwardly nonchalant, his bravado a shield against the growing unease. Then the noises began. Faint at first, like the rustling of leaves just outside the windows, but as they ascended the grand staircase, the sounds grew louder, more insistent. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, echoed from the floor above, a floor they knew to be structurally unsound, inaccessible. Sarah, her heart pounding in her chest, urged her friends to turn back. But the others, their fear now a potent cocktail of adrenaline and morbid curiosity, pressed on. They reached the second-floor landing, the air thick with the smell of dampness and decay. It was then that the laughter started, a low, guttural sound like stones grinding together, emanating from the far end of the hallway. It grew louder, more manic, echoing through the empty rooms, bouncing off the walls like a malevolent entity toying with its prey. Jared, his face pale with terror, was the first to break. He turned and ran, his panicked cries swallowed by the darkness. Lisa, frozen in fear, could only watch as he disappeared into the shadows. Mike, his bravado finally shattered, grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her after him, their escape hampered by the darkness and their own terror. Sarah's memories were fragmented, disjointed. She remembered the overwhelming darkness, the feeling of being chased by something unseen. Mike's hand slipping from hers, his terrified shout echoing. She fell, her hands scraping against the rough wooden floor. She scrambled to her feet, her breath ragged, her mind teetering on madness, and then she was outside, running blindly through the darkness, the laughter still echoing in her ears. The following days were a blur. The police, alerted by Sarah's ramblings, descended upon the empty house. They found Jared's body in the basement, his eyes wide with terror. Lisa's body was discovered in the attic, her limbs contorted at unnatural angles, a look of sheer horror on her face. Mike was never found. The tape recorder contained chilling sounds, heavy footsteps, maniacal laughter, Jared's cries, and then silence. The silence, Sarah would later say, was the most terrifying sound of all. The silence of the empty house. The tragedy of 1978 sent shockwaves through Willow Creek and beyond. The empty house, once a source of macabre fascination, became a symbol of unimaginable horror. Law enforcement, though deeply unsettled by the events, could offer no rational explanation for the teenagers' deaths. The case, officially deemed an unsolved mystery, was quietly laid to rest, but the whispers continued. The empty house stood silent, shrouded in an eerie calm that belied the horrors it had witnessed. The silence, however, was deceptive. Those who dared to venture near the property spoke of a palpable heaviness in the air, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes. Shadows seemed to move in the periphery, and the faintest of sounds, a creaking floorboard, the rustle of leaves, sent shivers down their spines. Over the years, a steady stream of paranormal investigators, researchers and thrill-seekers descended upon Willow Creek, drawn to the enigma of the empty house. Armed with an arsenal of high-tech equipment, EMF readers, EVP recorders, infrared cameras, they sought to document the unexplained, to capture irrefutable proof of the supernatural. And the house did not disappoint. Strange anomalies were recorded, unexplained temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic disturbances that defied logical explanation. Cameras captured fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures darting across hallways, vanishing before a clear image could be formed. Objects moved seemingly of their own accord, doors slamming shut with no apparent cause. The air inside the house crackled with an unseen energy, a palpable tension that left investigators feeling unnerved, their senses on high alert. Perhaps the most compelling evidence, however, came in the form of EVP recordings, electronic voice phenomena, captured within the mansion's walls. Whispers, disembodied voices, sometimes clear, sometimes garbled, but undeniably present. Voices that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of the house, reaching out from beyond the veil. Some investigators believed these voices belonged to the former residents of the house, their tormented souls forever bound to the site of their suffering. Others theorized that the house itself acted as a conduit, a beacon that attracted lost and wandering spirits. One EVP recording in particular sent chills down the spines of even the most seasoned investigators. A woman's voice, filled with anguish, whispered the words, "Get out," her tone urgent, pleading. The voice, when analyzed by audio experts, bore a striking resemblance to that of Margaret Carraway, the young woman whose untimely demise remained one of the mansion's most enduring mysteries. The sheer volume of unexplained phenomena documented within the empty house led some paranormal researchers to speculate that the property was more than just haunted. It was a vortex, a focal point for supernatural energy. They theorized that the tragedies that had unfolded within the mansion's walls, coupled with the site's possible history as a Native American burial ground, had created a rip in the fabric of reality, a portal through which otherworldly entities could easily pass. Whatever the explanation, the empty house continued to exert a powerful hold on the imaginations and fears of all who knew its story. It stood as a stark reminder that some mysteries defy rational explanation, that the veil between our world and the next can sometimes be thin, perilously thin. The shadow of the empty house stretched far beyond its crumbling facade, casting a pall over the entire town of Willow Creek. It was as if the tragedies that had unfolded within its walls had seeped into the very fabric of the community, leaving an indelible stain upon its soul. The townsfolk, bound together by shared history and a collective sense of unease, found themselves living in the shadow of their darkest fears. The once vibrant community had grown increasingly insular over the years, its residents hesitant to share their unsettling experiences with outsiders for fear of ridicule or, worse, disbelief. Tourists, initially drawn to the town by its quaint charm, often left with a sense of disquiet, their cheerful vacation photos marred by an unexplainable chill that clung to the air. As the years turned into decades, the stories surrounding the empty house took on a life of their own, passed down through generations like cherished heirlooms of fear. Each retelling embellished the details, adding layers of myth and speculation upon a foundation of undeniable tragedy. The line between fact and fiction blurred until even the most outlandish tales were met with a shudder of recognition. Strange lights flickered in the windows, fueled by an unseen power source. Disembodied voices carried on the wind, their mournful cries echoing through the night. Shadowy figures glimpsed through the overgrown foliage, their movements swift and unnatural. Those who ventured too close returned, if at all, forever changed by their encounters. Their faces bore the weight of unspeakable horrors, their eyes reflecting a depth of fear. The empty house, despite its sinister reputation, or perhaps because of it, exerted a powerful pull on the human psyche. It stood as a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the ever-present potential for darkness to encroach upon even the most idyllic of settings. It was a symbol of the unknown, a blank canvas upon which people projected their deepest fears and darkest fantasies. For some, the empty house represented a challenge, a test of their courage and their ability to confront their fears head-on. They were drawn to the thrill of the unknown, the adrenaline rush that came with stepping into a place where the veil between this world and the next seemed perilously thin. Others, however, were drawn to the house for different reasons. They sought answers, solace, a connection to something beyond the mundane. They were the grieving, the curious, the lost souls seeking meaning in a world that often seemed devoid of it. The lingering haunt of the empty house was more than just the sum of its ghostly tales and unexplained phenomena. It was a testament to the enduring power of fear, the way in which trauma could embed itself into the very soul of a place. Its presence felt long after the initial events had faded into memory. The empty house served as a constant reminder that some wounds never truly heal, that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets best left buried. It was a symbol of the darkness that lurked at the edges of human understanding, a chilling testament to the fact that some things are simply beyond our comprehension. And so, the legend of the empty house lived on, passed down through generations, its grip on the town of Willow Creek as strong as ever. The empty house in Willow Creek stands as a stark, unsettling symbol. It reminds us that some places hold a darkness so profound, so absolute, that it defies rational explanation. The stories, the whispers, the documented occurrences all point to a realm beyond our understanding, a realm where fear reigns supreme. We may try to quantify the paranormal, to capture it on film or trap it within the confines of scientific instruments. But the true nature of such phenomena remains elusive, slipping through our fingers like grains of sand. The house, it seems, plays by its own rules, revealing its secrets only to those brave or foolish enough to venture within its grasp. And yet, even as we acknowledge the potential dangers, there remains a primal urge within us to seek out such places, to confront the unknown to test the limits of our own courage. But can one truly escape the clutches of such a place? Sarah Wilkes, the sole survivor of the 1978 incident, would likely argue that they cannot. The trauma of that night, the memories of her friends' terrified faces, the haunting echoes of laughter, these were scars that time could not heal. The empty house, it seemed, had claimed a part of her, leaving an emptiness that mirrored its own. The stories and legends that surround the empty house serve as cautionary tales, reminding us that some doors are best left unopened, some boundaries not meant to be crossed. They speak to the power of belief, the way in which our minds can conjure both wonders and horrors, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Perhaps the true escape lies not in physically distancing ourselves from such places, but in confronting the darkness within our own hearts. For it is in those shadowy recesses of our own minds that the true power of the empty house resides. Despite the inherent dangers, the human fascination with haunted places like the empty house persists. We are drawn to the mysteries they hold, the stories they whisper, the possibility that something beyond our understanding might actually exist. In a world increasingly defined by logic and reason, there is a certain allure to embracing the unexplainable, to acknowledging that some things may forever defy rational explanation. Perhaps it is this very uncertainty that keeps us coming back, that fuels our endless fascination with the paranormal. The empty house, with its tragic history and documented hauntings, represents a blank canvas upon which we can project our deepest fears and wildest imaginations. It is a place where the veil between this world and the next seems thin, where the impossible feels tantalizingly within reach. As we conclude our exploration of the empty house in Willow Creek, one question lingers. Is it merely a place of tragedy and terror, or does it hold a deeper significance? Is it a warning, a reminder of the darkness that can consume even the most innocent of souls? Or is it a challenge, a test of our courage and our willingness to confront the unknown? The answers, like the house itself, remain elusive. But one thing is certain, the empty house stands as a powerful symbol of the enduring human fascination with the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. It is a place where fear and wonder collide, where the veil between this world and the next seems to shimmer and sway. Whether we choose to heed its warnings or embrace its mysteries, the empty house in Willow Creek will continue to cast its long shadow across the landscape of our collective imagination. It is a place that will forever haunt our dreams, a chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets better left buried. The tale of the empty house is a chilling reminder that some mysteries are never truly solved. It whispers to us of the darkness that can linger in seemingly ordinary places. Was it the curse of a desecrated burial ground, or simply the malevolent energy that gathers in places touched by suffering? The answer, like the house itself, remains shrouded in shadow. The empty house stands as a silent sentinel, a testament to the enduring power of fear. It reminds us that some places hold a darkness that can never be truly extinguished.